Let's do it.
Awesome. Well, we are live, and I am very excited to have you all on here. It'd be the first time with three people on one of these calls, which is interesting for me. I tried to figure out how to make it look as good as possible, but surely it'll be a little bit of an experience here. But excited to have you on, Kat and Arturo, and really would just love for you guys to go ahead and start by introducing yourselves, what you do. This is going to be no shortage of things to talk about with all this y'all are involved in, and very excited to get into it today. So.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, Zach. We're so excited and grateful to be here. And yeah, so my name's Katherine. And man, this has been a journey. God has been so cool how he's worked in my professional life and personal, quite frankly. But to kind of give you some just bullet points, about a year ago, God called me to start my own business. And I took that step of faith, left a really good paying job, and just followed what he was calling me to do. And sure enough, I think it was like maybe not even 6 months later, I sent an cold email to Arturo, and we just developed this incredible relationship founded on Christ, of course, same values, same just excitement for Christ and business. And at the end of the day, it was going to be like, I'm going to partner with him and have access to some of the incredible partners he's built over the years. But it just really made sense for me to come over and become chief operating officer. And so needless to say, it's been nothing short of it, but incredible. It's always an interesting day over here at Lakeside Growth. And I'm just super excited to be part of Lakeside, working with Arturo and our incredible partners like Zach. Thank you so much for having me, Zach.
Yeah, of course, thanks. And Arturo as well.
Well, yeah, Kat's the best. I'm very thankful for her. It's interesting because this is my third AI company. Also, I don't even know if there's other Christian AI companies. I'm sure there is somewhere. Sure, there's got to be. But this is my third AI company, and for me, going into ministry in the next couple of years, I'm getting ordained this summer. It was interesting because I wanted this to sort of be the long-term revenue generator to fund ministry. I have hopes of opening up orphanages and things like that. So I had no intent, while I've exited, frankly, just about every other business I own. There's still a few I'm still involved in, but I didn't have an interest in exiting. So I was already trying to kind of game plan, how do I get the right person in to really take the ball forward? Not to say I'm not going to have any involvement, but ultimately, I'm really looking to go into ministry full time and make that my day to day. I was kind of struggling with, what do I do? I was thinking about some of my old partners to bring in, or just hire somebody, cut them a fat check. But you know what? No one ever takes care of things the way they do if it's their own. And I'm so thankful. I met Kat. It became pretty immediately apparent she was the right person for the gig. But I'm not a pushy person. The Lord has not asked me to be anyone's tutor and governor. We just kind of worked. And then one day she's like, I've been thinking about it. And I was like, yes. So anyways, it was great having her. But yeah, we've been doing some cool stuff. We talk about different things in AI. We have all kinds of different technologies that are helpful to, businesses, ministries, my own included, and nonprofits alike. And yeah, we're just super stoked to talk to you about this stuff. And, hopefully this is a benefit to somebody out there.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think what would be best too is kind of just to discuss, just in a nutshell, what Lakeside does and where you guys are focused and why. I think that would be really important to kind of set the stage.
Sure. Well, Lakeside Growth, obviously, we're involved in growing businesses, right? Whether it's a funded startup, ministry, or, a global nonprofit, it really doesn't matter. The reality today is, no matter what you're doing, if you're looking to be competitive, stay efficient, and grow, AI really is the name of the game. Right. And I've been preaching this, singing this song for a very long time now. Again, it's my third AI company. It was funny. I posted something maybe 2 months ago about a lecture I was giving in Saudi Arabia, talking about how you're either going to be ahead or behind. There is no middle ground anymore. Well, here I am like 5, 6, 7 years later telling people the same thing. The difference now, Zach, is that people don't think I'm talking science fiction. They actually believe AI is real. That's been kind of cool. But what we do is in a world of complex problems, really, we take your desired end state, your goals, the outcomes you're looking for. We sit down and we think about it and we reverse engineer solutions, right? Not everything requires, the Ferrari or the bazooka to kill a fly, right? So sometimes, people like using AI for the sake of saying we're applying AI. We don't know that that's always the best way to approach things. We think that we should maybe understand where you are today, know where you want to get to, and then come up with a plan tailored for that need. And this can have anything to do with from lead generation or identifying the person that comes to your ministry's website at 2:00 in the morning, but didn't have the courage to click the button and now they're gone and they may never know the Lord, right? It could be taking all of those years worth of studies you did, which by the way, we just did for ourselves, and creating an app. We created something called Call Paul, as in our Apostle Paul. We had it learn thousands of hours of lessons from our, Christian university or Christian Bible Institute. That's good for individuals or for ministers, right, who want to be ordained. We had to learn all that, learn the entire King James, and now we have an interactive avatar of Apostle Paul that literally talks to you and answers things like, what's the difference between the day of Christ and the day of the Lord, right? What does this mean? So we can do just about anything. And it's so cool to have the ability to make things, including for frankly, the most important gig all of us have here as ambassadors. How can we use this type of stuff to, bring in the lost and save them and help edify the saints, which is the two things we're really, focused on and called to do today. So I'm sorry for yabbering, but I'm passionate and this is cool.
Yeah, and maybe a question, I know for both of you guys, but what do you think would be the biggest use or use case for what you do for churches in specific, and then for business as a general rule?
Sure. Well, I don't know. I think churches, like any business, they want, customers,
yeah.
Right? They want people to come into the door, and whether it's to buy your B2B product, procure that online widget you sell on Shopify, or getting someone to come to Christ, or maybe you run a pregnancy center and you want to get that person who's, in a rough spot and, needs Christian love and care, then not in 2 weeks after they've already made some permanent decisions. So we have the unique ability over here to identify people in real time who are seeking fill in the blank, right? For the ministry, it may be that person at 2:00 in the morning we talked about, right? That was thinking of coming to the Lord, didn't have the courage to click the contact us button, and now they're gone, right? Well, wouldn't it be great if we could identify that individual, send them a communication and welcome them with open arms within 5 minutes? Wouldn't that be something cool to do? What about, the complexity of an operation, right? How much paperwork is sitting around everywhere and how many things get lost in the shuffle because you're doing manual workloads, or the nonprofit that has 3 wonderful people doing their best, but they're doing the work of 25.
Yeah.
What if we could remove 60 to 80% of the manual administrative activity so they could focus on the big rocks, their mission, right? That's what we do. And again, for us, the technology doesn't care whether it's for business, for ministry, for a nonprofit, but we do. We would love to make your, spreading the good news more effective. We would love to have your, godly mission out there doing the Lord's work be better, more efficient, more effective, so that you can move the needle and actually change hearts and change lives instead of playing games, messing around in the sand, dealing with that spreadsheet you've been trying to figure out for the last 25 years. So I don't know. I think to us, what's cool is the possibilities are really limitless. But the impact is it's unbelievable.
Yeah. significant.
You know, and maybe you could talk a little bit about that, Kat, because I think sometimes people think, oh, well, AI, it's got to be so expensive. It must be so difficult. It must be. Well, Kat, I'll leave that to you. She's definitely the operations. You don't want me involved because then it will be complex, hard, and long.
Arturo, I missed the first bit of what was the.
No, I like, you know, talking about how the operational process is to implement this stuff, you know, to get
yeah.
how quick it is, you know, and that's really her and her team that manage that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, it is actually very simple. We've got a process down to essentially asking you a series of questions to identify your gaps in your business where you are wanting to really enhance and improve your processes, strategy, quite frankly, admin tasks that take a lot of time, and how we could implement and augment those tasks, that spreadsheet, that outreach, whatever the use case may be. It's super simple for us to implement it. We have this incredible team of engineers that can put it together in 48 hours. Like, it's incredible how God has placed the partners in our life in order for us to go out and do things, not only strategically and correctly, but quickly, right? And, you know, Arturo and I talk about this a lot. We talk about, you know, we don't want to do things just to do things, aka moving at the speed of light. We want to do things strategically and really make an impact. But we've also implemented our own AI because we eat our own food around here, where we have put all these things together to be strategic, to be accurate, but also very timely. And so operationally, you know, we put in place processes that allow us to not just walk, but run.
Which is how we met you, Zach.
Yeah, absolutely, which is pretty cool.
It is cool.
I'd love for you to kind of talk through some of that too. Maybe through the process of meeting me and how we ended up getting connected, or just in general, but some of those processes that you have implemented internally, for whatever you'd be willing to share, of course. Very interested to know what you guys are doing and how that's working.
So we finally got to the clean up our own website portion of the dance. It's funny. We had customers before I had launched the business, though. So I will defend myself that much. So so the first thing we do is identify your clear ideal customer persona and brand story. Well, I sat down, I answered the questions, which actually had been developed with Omnicom years ago, through one of my other AI companies. We took a look at win and loss data, and, you know, what used to cost, you know, 150, 200K and 6 to 9 months, we got done in a couple hours in an afternoon, a full brand story or strategy and ideal customer persona with buying criteria, who is and who is not our customer and why. Well, then that also helped us figure out who our good partners would be. Mm-hmm. You, right? Yeah. And then we turned on some cool technology that interacts with folks and talks to them. It sends them one-to-one videos of us talking to them. It interacts with their posts. It'll talk to them on places like LinkedIn and email. It'll even leave you a voicemail from me. And then it sends you valuable content, like my favorite Bible quotes or Christian quotes, you know, John MacArthur. You might be the only Bible a non-believer will ever read, right? Really stuff that I love, right? So then it'll automatically help push you to book a meeting. And then when you book the meeting, the technology listens, and yep, you guessed it, we don't build quotes anymore. The AI does. They used to take 45 minutes to an hour. Now it takes probably 10, 15 minutes making some minor adjustments. 80% time back. Well, you also guessed it, we don't collect payments. And you also guessed it, we don't onboard. We are releasing our thought leadership engine. So what's that mean? It's going to be managing all our posts for us and building videos and actual podcasts with us on it. Is this really me?
That's what I was going to say. Is it really you guys?
We did that, but we do more, right? So like as an example, the knowledge base. Mm-hmm. Well, we built Call Paul in the matter of a few days, where it learned the entire King James Bible and thousands of videos and documents and studies, and now you can talk to it. Well, what about your training manual, right? Or what about your church? You don't got a bunch of these things you worked on for years sitting around collecting dust and no one can access it? Imagine somebody could talk into their phone and ask that question right then, right? So anyway, that's some of the things we've automated, but we're going further. Like, as an example, it'll not only find in-market opportunities for us for large deals, it'll tell me what the person likes and dislikes. Harry is an ex-rugby player who really enjoys time on the beach, outdoor fishing, and he's an avid hunter. Here's his information. Go get him, right? So it's super cool. Anyway, if you couldn't tell, I'm excited about this stuff.
Yeah, it's really cool. And one of the things that I've run into is sometimes AI doesn't just get it all right. There's often mistakes. And so I'm curious, like, what do you do to address those? Is it more of just, hey, we kind of missed the mark on that one? Obviously, you can filter out the mistakes that might be particularly bad. Obviously, we don't want an AI that's cursing or providing things that shouldn't be provided to someone. And that's pretty easy to filter out. But what about if it makes a mistake about someone, or it makes a mistake about the message? It's just a little bit off. How are you guys addressing that? Because I know that that's a huge challenge.
This is cool. I'm so happy you asked that question.
Yeah.
Through our beloved Apostle Paul's app we created, we didn't want it drawing from public, frankly, woke, non-Christian ideology and communications. So I took the opportunity to take a document that had, 80 to 100 questions that are part of the ministry ordination process. I did the research, I answered all of them myself, and then we trained the model to only understand, learn from that. So now it's only drawing from the King James Bible, all of the video and documents from our studies and notes, and will only respond, answer, and create logic the way I did, eliminating the need for it to go out and find third-party external data that will inherently have the problems you're describing, right? So we solve that problem, and let me tell you, dude, that is a cool solution. Think about, a business or a ministry, whoever that is. Now that, that leader can sit down and spend a little time doing this. Obviously we know how to do this. We're doing it all the time. And now we get it to not only answer correctly or do it right, but we can even train it to do it in your voice. We can even make an avatar of you that they can talk to Saturday night at 2 a.m. Crazy cool. The other thing, in let's say the outbound or finding information about Zach, is it all 100% correct? No. Okay. But is it 85 to 95% accurate? Yes. Now, if you think about yourself doing research on a prospect, you're probably going to do a little better than that. But how many hours did it take you to get 87% right versus I can get you thousands that are 85 to 95% right, and I can do it right now. While we're talking, I can get you 300 of these.
Yeah.
So you do give up a little bit. As an example, with our outbound communication automation back and forth, some people don't even look at it. They just let it cook. We're particular. So before we allow the response to go out, we look at it. We take that 15 minutes in the morning to review those responses and say, you know what? It's 95% right, but okay, go. Right. So this is about, I think people have this mindset of AI is just going to replace everybody and everything. And listen, for some things that might be true.
Totally. Yeah.
From Lakeside, though, our mentality is about taking your human capital, right? Those individuals, the people. Why don't we let them do the important work? Why don't we focus them in on the things that move the needle the most and let the AI do, and I don't want to call it the grunt work, the laborious strategic work, like that research we should do on Zach before we call him. So, this is about enhancing what you already do. not replacing it. Alice, the accounts payable lady, if she's spending all her time manually cross-checking and doing reconciliations, I'm just going to guess there was probably something better, more valuable that would help that business move forward that she could have been doing rather than spot checking something, which, by the way, manually is inherently wrought with error.
Yeah.
So, how do we make I always think about this. I'm an old man. I think about like the bionic man. We have the technology, we can build them better, right? Well, that's kind of what we're thinking here. Like, hey, how do we take the best of you so you can focus on that? And then allow this technology to enable the freedom to focus on the things you most enjoy and you're best at. Like I just had Zach, I just had my first son.
Yep.
Brother, I get to go out and take a little walk right here. I live on a cool marina, and I put him in his little carrying thing, and we're having dad and son time. And, we're sitting here where I'm reading Romans with him right now, and I'm booking deals. Prospects are getting quotes. Accounts are getting payment invoices and getting onboarded. And I'm sitting here hanging out with my son, which is really, certainly my first obligation, bringing him up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. So it's not just about what you can enhance from a work perspective. What about the rest of your life? You're doing missions, Zach. Wouldn't it be cool if you could still be getting 60, 70% of the stuff you need to get done when you're focusing out there on spreading the good news and, bringing a message of reconciliation to the lost? Who's mad about that, dude?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it just makes a lot of sense to try to automate as much as possible, but that does leave kind of that human element to your point of doing the verification and being able to, get to that next step and bring it from 85 to 95% right. And then that, extra 5% is really verified when you actually talk with the individual. So I do like that. And the other thing too, we touched on it a little bit before, but I'd love to kind of dive a little bit more into that. And obviously there's no specific pricing that we can talk about just because every single situation is going to be different, I imagine. But for ministries, for nonprofits, that sort of thing, price always comes up. And again, it used to be so expensive to get some of this stuff put into place. And now it's a little bit more accessible. So what does that look like for, a church, for example, or a large nonprofit? It's just trying to put something together and serve their community better, but automate a couple of things.
Sure. So listen, as an example, getting the information for that guy or gal at 2:00 in the morning that didn't click the button to come to Jesus, that solution starts at $100 a month.
Yeah.
We are not talking out of pocket, right? Like this is very reasonable on the table. Starts at $100 a month. Automating, understanding your ideal customer persona. And by the way, real big problem for the nonprofit world when they're going out and trying to raise donations. They think they know what their donor looks like. Often they don't. But they don't. And by the way, this is a knock on you, nonprofits. Businesses don't know either. Okay, don't feel bad. That's why people come to us. But getting that brand strategy and ideal customer persona or ideal donor persona or whatever. We're talking about somewhere between 55 and 7,500 or so. That used to cost it still costs 150 to 250K in 6 to 9 months if you go to traditional firms.
Yeah.
What's hilarious is some of those traditional firms that are charging that are talking to us about doing their fulfillment.
Yeah.
So, is that out of pocket? Well, not really, because if you're spending money on, sending whatever gift baskets or ads or whatever it is to get donors, and you're having to address 10,000 people to get one conversion, that conversion is costing you more than it should. So that is a big difference. We have another AI technology that will identify the people that go up and click and donate in real time and train Google and Facebook, instead of looking for lookalikes, it'll say, hey, go find me everyone that's right about to click a similar button on a similar website to do a donation. And do me a favor, right when they're within a 30, 40 seconds of clicking that button based on their real-time behavior, now serve them up our ad.
Mm.
And guess what? We don't even need their personal data to do that.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. There's a solution out there for everybody. And especially in the nonprofit and the church community, if you didn't already know, it's something we care about around here. We're always happy to take the time to find a way to get creative. To be perfectly frank, even if we are not the answer, we are very apt to spend the time to give you some information on how you can improve some stuff yourself, and even point you to free or inexpensive tools to get started. We do this all the time because our work is supposed to be as unto the Lord. And especially when we're working with our brothers and sisters in Christ, you know, if we can, we should help.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we invite people to call, even if they just want to pick our brain.
Yeah.
Let's do it. You know, maybe one more person comes to Christ because we had a 30-minute call.
Yeah.
Worth it to me.
Totally worth it. That's awesome. Well, I know we're kind of coming towards time here. So one of the things I was curious about from each of you, so separately kind of think of some ideas here, but what advice would you have to maybe, and it could be nonprofits or businesses, it doesn't matter, but just any sort of organization that's looking to become more AI forward and try to push into that space, but hasn't quite made it there. What advice would you give them? And yeah, that's really a question for the two of you, and then we'll kind of wrap things up from there.
I have my answer, Arturo. Do you want to go or should I go?
Ladies first.
Honestly, Zach, the more and more we work with companies and the more and more we hear about AI technology, it's just so evident that there are so many options out there, and it becomes overwhelming for people. And a lot of companies, they try things and it's such a cookie cutter solution that they decide like, this doesn't really work for my company or industry, right? But that's where I kind of, encourage companies to actually find customized AI solutions for them. At the end of the day, their business is unique, their user case is unique, and they do need a customized solution. And not every AI technology out there allows for that. So I just really encourage them to not get discouraged in using one technology and it might not be the right fit. There is a lot of various solutions out there. So just keep on trying, and we always love to test around here. We don't see a failure as a failure. It's as an opportunity to test something else and to keep pushing in the right direction. So yeah.
Awesome. That's great. Arturo.
That was good, Kat. That was a good one. Now I think, well, we'll start this, I guess, how we ended it. You know, I've been telling people for years, it really doesn't matter whether you're in business, whether it's a ministry, whether it's a nonprofit. You know, we're either ahead or we're behind today. And much to Kat's point, not all AI was created equal. Okay. A Ford Pinto and a Rolls Royce are both cars. You know? So what I would always say is just because something's new doesn't mean it's bad. And I think AI has this tendency to bring up these scary thoughts for people. Well, you know what? You can also build a house with a hammer or whack someone in the head with it. These tools are things that are here, and God has given us a great mind to use things for our good. And it's time to think about that. No matter where you are in your business or ministry, it's likely this can help enhance the important work you do. And I would say, and Kat's right, you know, whether you're starting with a conversation with us or just going out and doing some research, there's a million ways to get started. And what I would recommend is starting. You know, I think the problem with this tech is once you're too far behind, it's going to be a little bit late. And the people who are going to grow, whether it's your ministry, your nonprofit, or your business, are going to, at this point, if you're not already in process, you're already a little behind.
Yeah.
And it's probably time to think about how to do that today, because your competitor, including the church across the street, probably is.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's cool. I definitely appreciate that insight, and it's been pretty fun talking today. There's no shortage. We could probably talk here for another 2 hours, but you know, spirit of time here. Just some final thoughts that you've got, if anything, and then how viewers can connect with you guys if they want to. So.
No, honestly, Zach, I just appreciate you putting this together, having us. It's always a pleasure chatting with you. And I'm sure you'll share our information, and we're happy to chat with you guys all the time. So.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, same sentiments. Thank you so much, Zach. We appreciate the partnership with you. It's been wonderful to work with you. It's great to have this conversation. And I will say, if Zach will share a link to meet with us, but if you do want to connect with us individually, that's great. But please do us a favor and let us know that it stemmed from our friends over here at Lamb Telecom. We have a great relationship with them, and we've really always, the Bible's pretty clear about this. A man is worth his hire. So we always want to give credit where credit is due, and we're thankful for that.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you jumping on, and looking forward to continue the partnership.
Thank you.